All right, what's happening, Jesse? How are you?
Not much, Ryan. Just spending the day doing credit reviews today. I'm doing really good. How are you?
Yep, I'm doing great. So thank you. So for those that are they're getting the video on this, this is Jesse from My Credit Guys, somebody that we work with hand in hand, really kind of, take a look at our clients, make sure they're for one in their best possible position. But I wanted to record this specifically for our real estate partners because in our world, if we're in conversation with a client, we realize that if they're off mark a little bit in the credit space, we can give them a little bit of guidance. If it's beyond the scope of what I may be able to give them from an advice standpoint, they're starting to work with you. From there, you've got a couple of different paths, right? Maybe some quick advice to rejuvenate credit. And then another path might be maybe the heavy lifting. It's sort of what I refer to our partners as we're planting seeds for a future harvest, right? They're not ready yet. They're going to take some time, but we're going to make sure and nurture them, plant those seeds, and then we'll love on them a little bit. And at some point, they'll sprout up and they'll be ready for us to harvest. So what I thought
Absolutely.
would be helpful is, especially for the real estate partners, I want to plant a seed with them when they're talking to somebody and somebody goes, yeah, I want to buy a house, my credit's shot. Sometimes the conversation just stops right there. And I'm like, no, 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 shoot them this way, please, because there's so much we can do to prep them. I can prep them on the finances side, and then we can come to you and you can prep them on the credit side of things. Um, in your situation, I mean, you've seen thousands of credit reports. What are some common things that you see, people making mistakes? Their credits maybe in the fives, and if these folks hadn't met with you on their own, would they have been able to just get to a place where their credit was looking pretty good, or were there like some really quick misses, like, oh wow, I didn't realize I could do X, Y, or Z?
To answer that question the most truthfully, I would say that there's probably plenty of people that with time will figure out, how to get to where they need to from a credit standpoint. In my experience, though, and based on the data that we're seeing with our follow-up campaigns, they may have good intentions after they figure out that they can't move forward to purchase a home based on pre-approval. But as they continue on in that journey of fixing their own credit, they either are not taking the most cost effective or process efficient approach, right? Because they just don't have the knowledge. They don't have the experience, the expertise, the relationships that we have in the industry to really work at a fast pace to help people. And then the other thing is they're doing it on their own. And this is not something I'm so data driven, right? And I'm so fact driven. I'm very little related to emotionally driven as it relates to business, but it's still applicable here. If they don't have the support, right, with a team to keep them pointed in the right direction, they will quickly lose sight of what is truly valuable at the end of that journey and improving credit to uh, make the best investment that they can in home ownership, right? To become a homeowner, impact their financial opportunity and liability in the future with improved credit. Like those things just fall off. And they have because one of two things it fell off before, which is how they landed here somehow,
Mhm.
right? Not saying that there's not negative events that have happened leading up to that, or they just didn't have the opportunity for to be educated and directed appropriately, which is most of what we deal with, right? And so if they've had all the resources leading up to this point, right, like the internet and people that they might know that understand finance as well, they shouldn't really be in this situation. So the leadership and coaching approach that we take when a client is enrolled in our services is a huge impact on their ability to get across the finish line. And so to answer your next question of what are some of the things that happen that kind of create bigger roadblocks than it should be, is the one thing that you and I talk about a lot of, like when people see big numbers on a credit report, they think that's the most impact, right? And so I often see, unfortunately, people have a tough time. Have to they might have to give back a car, right? Or if it gets repoed. And those are usually large dollar amounts for a couple of reasons. One, because cars are expensive today and yesterday and the day before. But in addition to that, it's very rare for the issuing bank of that loan to adjust that balance that they originally put in that delinquent status back to what we call a deficiency balance, which is the net of what that should be reduced down to after that vehicle is sold at auction or through the wholesale process, right? So usually we're looking at a number that's much higher than it should be. And so that feels very overwhelming when a consumer looks at that. But I can tell you that 99% of the reports that I look at that have a repo on their credit report, I'm working with the loan officer that says we don't have to handle that. Right. I'm gonna go FHA and we're not even calculating that into DTI. So let's go handle something else. And not only is it that, but most of the time the fact that that file is seasoned, maybe more the age of it's older, and then maybe a couple collections that are smaller balances is often overlooked. And for us, that's a huge win because when you tell a client that they just need to handle a few things that are in the hundreds of dollars range rather than thousands of dollars range, obviously that's a big weight off their shoulders.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because when you're describing the process, with credit and somebody can kind of do it on their own, the information's out there, maybe they have some influence with people. The one thing that I kind of relate to often, and I imagined it when you were saying it, is like this is like a fitness journey. Anybody and everybody's kind of done some sort of a diet at one point, right? And you hear from one person, oh, this is the right way, go keto or go this kind of diet or eat like caveman. And the thing is, like, all of the stuff works if you have somebody that's a coach that says, hey, for you, this is what you need to focus on. But if you just kind of take the advice from somebody else and you try it, it may or may not be the right approach for you. Maybe you're burning too much time in the gym trying to like outwork a bad diet when you could just focus on the diet and not spend as much time in the gym, right? You just need a coach to kind of teach you that. The other thing is, we oftentimes focus on the wrong things. And so to your point with like the credit, the repo and all that, I think what I notice is that we'll talk to people that have repos on their credit all the time. And they go, I haven't done anything with it because I don't owe, $14,000. Oh, five. They took it back. I only had a $5,000 deficiency. That was all it was. It's 14 grand now. It's like, well, here's what happened. It was five. Then they sold it at auction. They only got X amount of dollars for it. Plus you had back interest, missed payments, and all these things. So there's cost associated with it. So really your cost 14K now, right? It wasn't 5,000. They just were doing the math between what they owe and what they think the auto would have sold for, or what they were behind. So they see that big number and then they give up. They think there's no hope in sight. When the reality is, a lot of times in our world, maybe we can get around that. We don't need to use all of their money, because sometimes they're like, man, that's all my down payment. That's all my closing cost money. I don't have anything else to put into it. I can't pay that thing off. And you're looking at it going, well, you don't have to. Let's find a different approach. We have X amount of dollars we can play with that are disposable that would still retain your closing cost and your down payment money. Well, let's just kind of use that money instead of focusing on this big one. And actually, it may have a bigger lift. So that's
Yeah,
where a professional with the right sort of tailor fit solution for somebody really comes in handy.
yeah. I think that here's I'll share a little bit about just in general around. So my credit guy is licensed in all states except one, Georgia, right? And there's this consistency that I'm seeing in the partners that we work with. I think it's important for your network here to understand that like my credit guide is not consumer direct ever. I mean, some people find our Facebook page, they find our website, but really our whole business is built on being a bolt-on service to loan officers primarily to assist in that process of getting that client to where they need to be so that they can issue a pre-approval for you and that team to go sell them a house. But it also is framed up very well, right? And this has been something that's in this last 6 to 12 months has been a very hot topic. Is that the conversation of credit is coming up with the real estate agent more than it ever was in the past, right? And so what we want to do is we want to make you feel comfortable, whether it be in scripting, conversation, how do you hand somebody off to us, but to uncover those opportunities so they can be seeds that you plant that you can sow in the future. There's no question that not everybody that has credit challenges that wants to buy a house will in 6 months, but I'm telling you, there's a good number of them that will if they have good leadership, a good solid plan, and a team behind them. And so, one of the things that I'm running across when I'm talking to real estate agents a lot lately is that once we get into the conversation about credit issues, they still like want to work with me. But when I start telling them anything about a loan officer or finances, they get a little hesitant. And so what we want to make sure that you're aware of and that they should be aware of is that there's no commitment here, right? Like we don't even need to really pull credit. If they're saying like I have these issues, we can get access to a consumer copy of credit, right? It's not going to create a hard inquiry on their credit profile, and we can consult them on that just to give them an idea of what they should be doing in the future. There's no commitment in that interaction. It's really just us working as a team and a partner to you to allow for that client to have good direction on what they should do next. Now, sometimes that they say, this is great. I want to sign up for your service. I want to work really hard to get to the 640 number that Ryan has for me. If that's the case, then it's really good news, right? And then we have a whole system in place that we could dive into in the future at some point for your network of people, Ryan, that are interested. We could dive in deeper to show them how to track those clients, how to see progress. But that really is the stopping point so much right now is that they're intimidated to have that conversation when they really should be welcomed into learning more about their current situation.
Yeah, 100%. As you're talking about it, I'm thinking of our current situation with the NAR settlement that is kind of going on right now. There's a lot of conversation around, geez, I got to sign this buyer broker agreement that has a very large number that I'm not used to as a buyer that may seem shocking to them for your services as a real estate agent. But actually, this falls perfectly in line with why they should be working with you because you have access to all sorts of other people. So as a real estate agent, you go, look, your credit's a little off mark. Tap into my team. We're going to make you a homeowner, right? This is what we get paid for. It may not happen tomorrow. It may be 6 months, maybe a year, it could be 3 years down the road. I don't know what kind of damage you have in your credit at the moment and what the plan is going to be in what your commitment to the process will be. But we're here to support you and we're going to put you with the best people to give you the advice that you actually need, right? When you do something like that for somebody, they have no problem signing that buyer broker agreement because you've shown your true value. They understand that you're doing all this prep work up front before you've even helped them at all. Now you're showing them a home, and then you have all the commitment to service afterward, which is another thing. Sometimes people in our network have credit challenges after we've helped them. They had perfect credit, but then afterwards they don't. Just had one the other day. You and I got on a call. Where's a past client with perfect credit who was a little off mark? We got him on a three-way call and kind of settled him out a little bit. He was like, man, that was super, super valuable. Thank you. I cannot thank you enough for setting me up with Jesse because I feel better about the situation now. I'm
Yeah.
not doing a loan for him right now. He's not buying a house. Somebody we've helped years ago, but we were able to kind of bring you into the fold and help that and service that client in the future. And that's the commitment that we make as lenders, but also as real estate agents. You need to create part of your value proposition of this long-term commitment to your client.
I say it a lot. I follow this in my life. Like I never used to be that like this as much, but I don't look at price as much as I used to. For me, it's more of the experience that I have and the relationship that I could build, which means that a lot of times whenever I need it, I don't know if I need my house recited or whatever the case may be, I reach out to my network and I say, do you have a guy?
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason that when Sam Parker started this business, he called it My Credit Guy is because like we really truly want for people to feel like that we're theirs, right? Whether it be the client, the loan officer, the real estate agent, like we're your guy, right? And so, or gal, I mean, to be honest, there's more gals here at My Credit Guy than there is guys. Uh, Thankful for that. But that feeling of like I have somebody that has my back is the what we're creating here, right? Like we never really want these clients to feel like they are in credit repair. We just want them to feel like they have a team that's supporting them on the path towards home ownership. And the posture of that and what our team is designed and what we've partnered with you, Ryan, and with the Neo Home Loans team has been able to produce like exceptional results with people like truly graduating the program, improving credit, and then we see those beautiful success stories of them getting into their first home or their upgrade home to maybe that forever home. We see lots of different scenarios of people that just have maybe not even sometimes challenges, right? Like one of the things that's coming up right now is that like we're still a super competitive marketplace. Wherever you're at in the United States, it doesn't matter. Like things are going to get even more hot right now with limited inventory. And so we have a lot of people that think that they're a 700 plus borrower because they've been looking at Credit Karma for the last 6 months, kind of looking at how they can improve their credit as much as possible. But then we pull a mortgage report and we find out because those scoring models are different that they're not that 700, but they want to be, right? So those type of people are also absolutely seeing the value of getting a credit consultation and getting a very aggressive plan so that they know they can not only get the best rate available, but in a competitive marketplace, they want to be approved for the most that they can afford. They want to be able to play with that number in their marketplace. It opens up, more opportunities for homes in their area. So that's
That's
that's one thing that's super hot right now.
absolutely. Yeah, maximizing that score, especially when we're trying to just move the needle an eighth or a quarter in that rate. 20, 30 points can make all the difference in the world between affordability and not
Absolutely.
affordability, or moving forward and
Yep.
not moving forward. So, the other thing I wanted to point out too, I thought was really interesting for me personally, is that the clients I've served that maybe were a little dinged up, had some young and dumb phases in their life, they had some challenges on the credit side, and we've helped kind of turn them around over the years. They have been some of the most loyal clients I've ever worked with, including the most referrals. I think I can point back to one or two people that I personally met when they were in the low fives, and I spent the time with them, and they'd talked to several other lenders, they'd talked to several other real estate agents. Nobody just spent the time with them because it wasn't they couldn't eat off of that client today, right? It wasn't food today. They were looking at them, they're like, you're not buying a house today. We spent some time with them. Anytime there's a question that came up, we were patient. We gave them some advice, followed up. You guys have an amazing follow-up system. That's one of the reasons we put them in and nurture them. We allow you to sort of do that heavy lifting for us. So we thank you for that. But those clients are so incredibly grateful because they knew where they were. They weren't in a great position. And then they see the results, right? They got in a place where they
Yep.
were able to accomplish something. For a lot of these people, buying a home is one of the top, if not the most important things in their life. It's a gigantic accomplishment because they've been told no from their credit cards. They've been told no from auto loans. They got to go to some dirty auto lender to get a car. Like they finally have a freaking house. Like these guys are so excited. So um, please spend the time. If you get somebody who's just off mark a little bit, it may be a lot of work on your side. Now, I would say, like as a realtor, it's a ton of work to do all the follow up and send them articles and make sure you're giving them all the data. You don't have to do all that. That's what my credit guy does, right? Let's get them in the process, make the warm introduction. Let's get them into a place where they can get tripped on and they can get coached properly and turn them into just honestly amazing, amazing clients and amazing referral partners in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Thank you so much, Jesse. This is super helpful. I will share your contact information with this group.
Cool.
Um, the
Sounds good.
process, I'm telling you guys, the process is very easy on enrollment. You'll get line of sight on where people are at. So that way, when you connect with them, you know exactly where they are in the process. So thanks for putting on a good service and thanks for treating our clients right.
Always. Anytime, Ryan. Thanks for having me today.